Well, 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 thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's the Rebel Roundup with a panel guest, my favorite type. I'm going to start with my lovely co-host. I'm Drea Humphrey, and my lovely co-host today is the lovely Alexa Lavoie. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. What about you?
I'm doing good. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty, which would explain the few minutes of delay. Story of my life. Despite being on, line for a living, I am like the worst next to David Menzies, I think, with all of the technical stuff. So I'm very technologically challenged. But yeah, I'm happy it's Friday and it's an exciting weekend for us in British Columbia because we're going to find out who's going to be the next leader of the BC Conservatives. So very interesting time. And for those who, before we get to our guests, if you're unfamiliar with how the live stream works, it's really fun because you can be a part of it. And the easiest way to do it depends on what platform you're on. So if you're watching us on YouTube and you want to engage in the crazy conversations we're going to have today, or I love sometimes you guys break the news as we're sitting here, everything is completely live. You can do so on YouTube with a super chat. And when you donate $5 or more, of course, that goes to help our journalism. We don't take any money from the federal government, like over 95% of media. And then we incorporate that in the show. And then if you are watching after the fact and you just want to help us out, you can leave us a super thanks. And sometimes we actually make that comment go over to the next episode if it relates. And then if you're watching on Rumble, my favorite, free speech platform to watch videos, then you can also join in the same fashion by leaving us a Rumble rant. So thanks for that. Now we're going to get on to our guest today. Very special guest, the man with the plan when it comes to tackling what he refers to as the greatest scandal, child abuse scandal against children, and that is the medical transitioning of them under the guise of them being born in the wrong body. That is no other than Billboard Chris. Chris, thanks for being on Rebel News again.
Thank you for having me, Drea and Alexa. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's been a good week, and we've got a big weekend coming with the BC Conservative leadership race coming to its final close. And the winner is probably going to be Caroline Elliott or Carrie-Lynne Finley, and they've both vowed to stop child transition in this province if elected. So we'll see what happens.
That's absolutely right. It was so refreshing to see you sitting down and actually interviewing some of these candidates over an issue that should not be controversial, but has been for so many years in the conservative movement. And you're right, there were three candidates, correct me if I'm wrong, who said they would cut that out. And the top two that you mentioned, who I agree are probably most likely to be the next leader as far as popularity votes go. Caroline Elliott and Carrie-Lynne Finley. And the third was Yuri Fulmer, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So very exciting. And just real quickly, while we're on this beat, since we have you, recently you and I were at the same event, a property rights event. Sorry, my dog is tap dancing, if anybody can hear him. And of course, that's a big issue here in BC. And that was led by Pierre Poilievre. It took place in Vancouver. Over 1,000 people showed up at the hotel to hear, of course, about this concerning issue. And you got in a question. Just recap what your question was and what you thought of Mr. Poilievre's answer.
Sure. Well, I laid a little context about what I do and why this is the greatest child abuse scandal in Canada. And then I asked him what he was going to do about it if he became leader of Canada. And more than ever before, he gave his most definitive answer to date. He said there should be no irreversible sex changes for kids, period. Of course, it's all irreversible. Some people are quibbling over that word. To me, it doesn't really matter because puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries are all irreversible. And he finally took a strong stance against it. So we're going to hold him to it. He might not want to campaign on this, but we'll keep repeating this over and over and over again. And I think it's really important because it gives other MPs and other conservative politicians in provinces across the country a little more courage to speak up about this, because when your leader of conservatism in the country is now speaking boldly about it, it's time for everyone to start speaking loudly about it, as they are now doing in British Columbia with the Conservative Party with the 3 out of the 5 candidates.
Absolutely. And finally, and Mr. Poilievre also added on to that, because you didn't ask about this specifically, he added on and our policy or whatever it's called for the party is that we don't believe biological males should be in women's sports. So that was great to hear, refreshing to the ears. And I think it garnered the most applause of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the whole meeting was about property rights. And it looks like we've had, I would say it's a win, maybe not as big as the headlines that first came out. Even with global news, I even put a little tweet up because so many people were reporting on it. I thought that was the breaking news. So yesterday we learned that coming out of New Brunswick, the Supreme Court of Canada refused to hear an appeal to a lower court's decision to make property rights, to declare that Aboriginal title cannot supersede fee simple private property rights. So I just want to make sure, because I had technical difficulties. You guys are putting the images on, right? I can't see any images.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so if I'm looking down at my phone more than normal, that's why, guys, because I can't actually see anything on the screen at all. So this is, and I'm probably going to butcher the name of the First Nation band, again, out of New Brunswick, the Wallachstoki First Nation. And what had happened is they had been granted like a massive part of New Brunswick. They got Aboriginal title granted and included over private lands. I actually didn't know about this. I thought BC was the worst, but this had happened. And it included commercial businesses were on that land and stuff. And the crazy part about that ruling was that it also said that not only is Aboriginal title over the private lands, but you can also be entitled to it even if you're a band that isn't actually trying to get that land back. Like, super confusing. And so that was thankfully appealed, and the appellants actually won that case. And so then the First Nation was like, no, we really want it to be over private property land. And they tried to go to our highest court, and our highest court said, no, we will not hear the case. So I'm going to jump to you, Alexa. What do you think when you hear that news?
I think we are in a really dangerous path, because I'm actually sharing that in our discussion panel. It's happening in Quebec too. We have also Native who are trying to get some land claim. So it's happening a little bit everywhere. And where it's getting dangerous is where that you have a private property on now a land that is turning into the Aboriginal land. So what is happening to the people who have their house, their livelihood, everything that they build on the land, that now they don't know if they have their rights or not anymore. And we still don't know. I think we still need a court to decide what is happening with that, especially in your side of Canada. And the thing is, since that happened, because it's all started almost like in British Columbia, and now we are seeing it in multiple provinces. And the land acknowledgement started everything. You can't actually think that by doing this, they will not want more. And then, like, now, what are we going to do, us, if we don't have any right property, like our property rights? What we are going to do? I don't know about you, but it's all started in your province. So,
well, yeah, that's what we think anyways. I mean, these cases have been going on for around a decade before the citizens, the private landowners, even find out that they exist, and that includes the journalists. So we actually don't know how many cases are popped up around Canada. We're just finding out as they either win or lose their case. And the reason why I think BC is in the most trouble is because we have untreated land. And so now these decisions are coming together through agreements and through court decisions, which is quite concerning, because we know in Richmond, BC, we had the Cowichan versus Canada case, which said that your private property rights are invalid now because Aboriginal title are granted over a portion of that. Now, again, I guess, Chris, you were at the Polyev event, and this was about this issue. Did anything stand out to you about what you heard from the federal government there and about how they wanted to address this, or was it not enough?
No, I think it was fine. So just to clarify, this ruling in New Brunswick said that Indigenous bands can attempt to get compensation for loss of traditional
Yeah,
lands, but they cannot assert ownership over private land.
right.
And so the Indigenous band was appealing that, and the Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to hear your appeal. So this is a very big positive for everywhere else in the country. And with these things, it's always a legal process that takes years. But I've never been too worried because 99.9% of private owners across the country are completely aghast at the idea of losing their private property just out of the blue to some Indigenous band because they happen to have people fishing on the territory 150 years ago.
So they
So,
say.
correct. So when there's that much of the population totally against something, it truly never stands a chance of long-term victory. Laws will be changed if need be. Even the Constitution will be changed if need be to protect private property rights. David Eby, the leader of the BC NDP, even tried to undo some of the doings with Drea, etc. And because his party is all run by literal communists, they revolted against him. So he lost control of his own party. And
Yes.
whoever gets in next as a conservative will take actions to undo some of this madness in BC. But I think ultimately with the courts, even if decisions go badly against us in the near term, if a decision went badly against us, the Supreme Court would agree to hear it and they would undo it.
Yeah, I think there's always a silver lining. This has certainly brought a lot of people together to have their eyes on the government in British Columbia. They're looking at the NDP going, what the heck? How come you never informed us about that? And I think for that, we can be thankful for. One thing I want to point out is that there is this whole, we keep getting told around BC, oh, this isn't about private property rights. Don't worry, it's not about that. Well, here we have a ban when it's written in stone, by the way. Aboriginal title isn't over private property rights, where they're like, oh no, we want that. And even as you point out, even though they were allowed to get compensation, they still wanted that title. And so the problem of what's happening in British Columbia is there is no black and white decision made. It's not excluded from even the agreement that the Liberals and that the Liberal government put together on our behalf in Musqueam, which is over Greater Vancouver. There's nothing in there saying that it excludes private property. So as much as they want to say this isn't really, the bands are saying this isn't really about private property, okay, then put that in black and white on your agreement, and they haven't. So there's no protection there. Kind of related to this, and Alexa, you brought up the land acknowledgement, and I agree, this is all tied together. And a lot of the land acknowledgement stuff really kicked off. I mean, we've been doing it for a while, not me, of course, but you know, as a nation popping up, but it really kicked off around the unmarked grave claims that we now know have bared no fruit, bared no bodies in clandestine graves. And so we have here, we're starting to see some excuses now that it is the 5-year anniversary just passed on the 27th of the Kamloops ban claim. And I think around like 80 bands did similar claims after that. We're seeing these excuses. Here's one of the excuses as to why they're not able to find the bodies. And actually, I know Billboard Chris, you actually, I'll let you speak to your response about this. But the title here says, searchers for unmarked burials face funding barriers. Witness tells the International Tribunal here. And so this is what it is. We're not giving enough money to the cause. Okay. So I've already taken a deep dive into how much millions of dollars. We know with Kamloops, for example, where they had claimed they had found 215 children at that residential school, which they had not. They've received over $12 million. Other bands, many other bands, have received every kind of quarter system. They're getting well over $1 million to continue their research, but they're not actually digging in the ground. And then they get another quarterly fund. So these bands have been getting a ton of money to try to get these remains. And so this person saying, you know, that it's just too hard. We don't have the resources. We don't have the fundings to come here. And
Andrea, I heard
yeah,
that you actually proposed yourself, you and Chris, to dig for free.
well, I was going to get to that with Chris because he put that up, and then I'll get to you with one other part. But Chris, why don't you jump in right there and talk about your generous offer that you made
Drea,
on it?
funding a shovel costs about $50. I have one. I literally just did the math when you were talking. 215 so-called graves. 3 feet deep is where these so-called remains were found. Well, this happens to also be a septic field. And Jim McMurtry has been talking about this for years. This isn't news. This was a septic field. It's well documented. So these are sewage tiles or sewage drains or whatever you want to call them. And they're buried 3 feet deep. So I reckon it takes about 20 minutes to dig each of those locations. I just did the math. We're talking 71 hours total for one person to dig up every single fake grave. And of course, you don't need to dig them all up. As soon as you dig up 2 or 3, you're going to know this whole thing is a hoax. So funding, they got $12 million. What did they do with it? Who did it enrich? This is professional money laundering is what it is. And all it takes is a shovel. That's it.
You know, yeah, and people are going wild about you saying you would volunteer. I said I'd volunteer. I said maybe Rebel News should do a campaign, actually. Like maybe we should see how many people are willing to come help and dedicate their time to dig in the ground, get to the truth that is needed for truth and reconciliation, and, you know, foster repatriation. Because let's not forget, it is the Indigenous way that if you find remains, you repatriate them, you return them to where they came from. And we know that students came from as far as Yukon to Kamloops. So none of this makes sense. But this is what is being testified in this this whole thing that took place. I actually learned about this from Alexa, but this is the excuse being given during an international tribunal that, Alexa, you know way more about. And like my jaw is just to the floor when I hear about what's happening, because I think they're cooking up a new narrative. So tell us about this tribunal.
Yeah, so the first person to actually ask for the People's Tribunal was Anne Cossette. Sorry if I don't pronounce it correctly, but she's a Cree activist. And what she was saying in an interview, it's after the remain of unmarked grave that was found in British Columbia, she actually reached out to that tribunal that is based in Italy, who used to actually held tribunal about different kind of, like, if it's not genocide or other like example Uyghur or other things that happen around the world. And so she actually reached out to them after the Kamloops unmarked grave that we never actually found anything, but saying that she would not allow this genocide to, you know, to go unnoticed or without consequences. So anyway, so they decided to have a full week of the testimony, like where people are coming and testifying. They were like a genocide expert. There were multiple kind of expert, as well as native, who were there to share their story. And they are supposed to give their judgment either today or in a couple of days or week from now. But the thing is, there is no weight in our judicial system. Like, it's just independent. So at the end of the day, they are just gathering information about it. And then what they are going to do with this, I have no idea.
Well, and I think I have an idea what they're going to do. They're losing traction rapidly. Politicians aren't going to come out very easily and say this was genocide anymore. They know the people have wisened up, and they're tired of what I call reconciliation overreach. They know that there are no bodies found in these clandestine graves. So now you have, according to you, this tribunal, which is spearheaded by a foreign entity out of Italy, coming here, being spoon-fed the experts. I mean, I'd love to see who their expert list. I'm sure Dr. Francis Whittleson.
And the judge are not on. I think there is one judge from here, and all the other judge are from different countries around the world.
Yeah, they're all foreign, and they're going to, I would assume, come to the conclusion, the false conclusion, that the residential school system was genocide, which it seems nobody knows what that word means anymore. Um, it's just ridiculous. So we, of course, will be keeping an eye on that. I know you're keeping an eye on that closely. That they had those hearings, and just one more quickly to tie this up, since it is around the 5-year anniversary with the Kamloops and the excuses we're hearing for having no bodies. Now the Kamloops ban has come out and said, according to Dr. Francis Widow said, I haven't actually seen this myself, but there was lots of talk about it, that if they need other First Nation communities to come together in support of the idea of excavation, and well over 100 of them, and then that's how they're considering everybody. So 5 years later, they've come up with this plan that's never going to happen, because like I said, so many of the other bands are also getting money for their claims. Sometimes they're actually, a lot of them were more honest by saying, we actually have a graveyard that we knew, and it's not just residential school, it's from the community, but the crosses have broken down. So they're getting money for doing whatever they're doing with that. I mean, at least they were more honest. But the point is, who's going to want them to dig? The gravy train ends. So yeah.
And the thing is, in those residential schools, we don't downgrade that. Yes, there were probably bad treatment, but there were bad treatment in residential school for Canadian, for our residential school. I know for facts that there were some people involved in the residential school who got beat up too and sexually assaulted by some people. And as you say to me the other day, when you have children, you will have predator around. And
absolutely.
Unfortunately, you need to see also when that happened and the period of the year that happened. It's back in the day, and back in the day was way different. Also, we had much more diseases. Obviously, the native residential school was less funded than the other residential school. So obviously the people got sick. They were not well treated to compare to the other residential school. So it's many facts. I don't think people wanted them, if they were some child who died from diseases. I don't think they wanted that. I just think that it was just the fact that they didn't have the fund being given by the government at the time. So I think we need to see the full portrait and stop saying it's just them who got targeted. I think it's all the residential school. I think it's all the children together at different kind of level who got bad treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people who are suffering the most with these false claims are, in fact, the people who actually were harmed in the school system, the residential school system. Because when you start lying and making things up, of course, it makes people start to cast doubt on all of the claims. And we know that some of the claims are, in fact, true. Actually, Chris, just going to you on this note, because you, of course, report today on abuses happening to children today. A lot of times that's happening in the school system today. So what do you have to say about that? That all the focus on what happened 100 years ago, during a time where child mortality rates for all children was super high. What do you make of all that?
Today in British Columbia, one psychologist who works for the Ministry of Children and Family Development, a government-paid psychologist, Wallace Wong, says he's transitioning more than 1,000 children, including 500 in state care. 68% of all children in state care in British Columbia are Indigenous. They are sterilizing Indigenous children today, and not one of these cowardly politicians who virtue signal and lie about this for political points, not one of them will talk about it.
Well said. Hard-driven point, and very important for us to get behind. So I think we are at the midway point. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. Thank you for the hard work you're doing exposing this issue and getting politicians to finally speak to it. Where can people find you if they want to follow what you're up to next?
YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Billboard Chris. Go to billboardchris.com if you want to support me. That would be great. But I'm just going to keep going probably until the day I die, because this ideology has to be burned to the ground. or else it'll just spring back up again. But yes, we are making progress with the conservatives, and eventually we're even going to get to the leftists, because this is going to be the one thing we look back in history on, and we'll have politicians 50 years ago talking about this tragedy like politicians today talk about a fake tragedy from 100 years ago.
Well, you know what, Chris, whenever I talk to who I call left UGs, people coming and voting conservative when they've been a liberal or with the NDP forever, it's this issue. It's about women's rights. It's about this idea that males can be a woman. That is why they're voting conservative. So that's already happening. Thank you so much. Before you leave, we do have a super chat that has come in that's mentioned your name. So I'm going to read that. And this is from Randy from the PEG. 4994 donates $5. Thank you so much for helping us out. And he says 3 awesome Canadians, Drea, Alexa, and Billboard Chris. Keep up the great work and be safe.
And before you leave, Chris, I just want to tell you that there is a man who did a documentary about the transition, and it was banned in Quebec City. It was censored. It was supposed to actually feature his documentary, and not only the employee of the cinema, the theater, pressure to not feature the documentary, but also like activists, and the theater received so much threats that it had to back down. And it's really unfortunate, because if it's a documentary, just to hear like different voices, like the other side of the story, but got literally banned.
Yeah, so all these leftist activists, every time we make any progress, they're going to scream and commit violence. I've had literally 5 minor assaults committed against me in probably my last 12 hours on the street. My equipment was destroyed twice. I was spat at twice. I was physically attacked. Someone threw a full juice box at me. This is all in the last week, basically. And they seem to be getting more violent. And so I think that's because we are making progress with the truth, and we're winning, and they know it. And it's just going to get worse for a period of time as we start to legislate this away. But once it's all done, it's all going to be done. And the people who are writing the legislation and voting for this just need to be strong, because all it is noise. I've been through this cycle with different US states and other places around the world. They make a big show of it. They bust people in from other states or provinces or countries or wherever to have this huge protest. And then the next day it's all gone. And then you have a ban in place, and now you've protected kids. So this is a winning issue for all these politicians. They just need to find a little bit of spine, which I know is not always the best quality of a politician, because they're more interested in getting reelected. But this is an issue that's going to help them get reelected. You never lose a single conservative voter. All you do is pick up liberals all day long.
Absolutely. Well, and on that note, you mentioning all of the abuses that you face, piggybacking on Randy saying stay safe, keep Billboard Chris in your prayers, everybody. I think you've had well over 40 assaults for, just peacefully.
A lot more now.
A lot more. Yeah, it's probably
Yeah.
doubled. We last reported.
All right.
Last. Keep him
Thank
in your
you.
prayers. Good to see you again.
See you later.
See you later.
Okay, I think we're going to jump to an ad break now, and then we'll catch up with you some more crazy news to come.
In Canada, firearms owners like me understand the importance of safe, effective self-defense options. That's why we're proud to have Byrna as a sponsor. Byrna's less lethal launchers are designed to help protect you and your family without taking a life. Byrna offers peace of mind, accessibility, and a practical layer of personal security for Canadians who value safety. Learn more at byrna.ca/rebel. That's byrna.ca/rebel.
Canada's been told to just quit smoking for decades, same message over and over, and yet millions of Canadians still smoke. So let's ask a follow-up question. For those who don't quit, what about change? In 2026, Canada has options that didn't exist years ago. Smoke-free alternatives for adults who would otherwise continue smoking. That doesn't mean risk-free, it means informed choice. If you don't smoke, don't start. If you smoke, quit. But for those who don't quit, change could still be part of the conversation. That's why Canadians should check out unsmoke.ca, an information resource focused on smoke-free alternatives and honest facts, not judgment. Put the lighter down, Canada. Learn what your options are.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted, while criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
All right, we're back. We have a quick ad read from one of our sponsors, which is, again, Rumble. And I just can't give them enough credit for what they did during lockdowns, allowing Rebel News to, give voices for people like the you-know-what injured, which we probably still can't talk about properly on YouTube. But so Rumble Wallet, so this is an extension from them, says, we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now fast forward to today. Everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all of the complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me, like Rebel News, directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning it. Now, this is actually interesting. And if you're comfortable and you actually have a Rumble wallet and you've been using it, feel free to let us know what you think about it in the comments. And I would definitely be interested to see, because that sounds fascinating. Not that I have too much money to put in there, but a little bit every month, maybe. All right. So what do we have next on the docket here? Crime. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, that's going up all across Canada. In this case, quite terrifyingly, we have the Bishnoi gang claiming it has 1,000 gunmen across Canada. So basically threatening, I believe that there was a letter actually hand delivered to the Abbotsford police or given to them in some way, saying, yeah, we have 1,000 gunmen across Canada. And that was revealed through Court records. So just slightly terrifying. The officer made the revelation during a deportation hearing. I'm going to pause right there. In case you don't know, we have a huge issue with extortion crimes happening here. We've already done in British Columbia around 70 deportations. And I want to say last I checked, over 300 files related to that where they're looking into that. So these extortion crimes happening are very largely not being done by Canadians. And now we see that the police are being cautioned that the Bishnoi gang has 1,000 gunmen willing to carry out shootings across the country. And again, the police officer made the revelation during a deportation hearing. According to Canadian news outlet Global News, the investigators described that the letter from the Bishnoi gang was delivered to a police station in Abbotsford. How is this real life? Police actually received a letter addressed from the Lawrence Bishnoi gang that was sent to a police station. Constable Kevin St. Louis told the Immigration and Refugee Board on Thursday. This specific letter outlined essentially their criminal organization, where they talked about having upwards of 1,000 individuals that are willing to carry out these shootings as part of the group. What do you make of that, Alexa?
Thanks to Trudeau, I would say I'm not very surprised because as we can see in Canada, we literally have cartel, Hamas members, we have IRGC members, we have literally gangs from literally everywhere around the world. They are all operating here because most of the time they get away without any consequences or weak sentence because since they are the minority or they are considered like racialized, they will receive like a weaker sentence. So literally we have like a justice system who is applying the law differently depending on if you are an immigrant or not. They have literally free pass to continue to do their criminal business. And do I'm surprised to hear about that? I think this is just the point of the iceberg.
I think you're right. And actually in BC, another issue we have out here, believe it or not, we actually have international student gangs. Like you heard that right. Like they're not coming here for an education. They're joining gangs. They're called the Ruffians. And there's been, I think, 1 or 2 arrests related to that I'm aware of. So this problem is not going away at all. And we already know, and maybe you've touched on this too, that some of these international students coming here supposedly for an education are doing so under, fake schools, like fake certificates. And I think you were questioning even like when you go to learn English or what have you, how it's only specific. Do you want to touch on that a little bit? Was that you?
I think it's maybe not me, but the thing is, I was doing a report, I think it was last year, about the homeless encampment. And what I uncovered, because I saw them with my own eyes, is like there is a gang selling drugs. And so they say to the people who are living in the tents, in exchange of your safety, we would take care of that, and then you would just buy drugs from us. But those people are not even citizens. They are mostly refugee. They are there and they are doing like all criminal activities. Also like human smuggling that is being done by refugees. So they are coming here, but the thing is, they are doing criminal activity and we are not digging deeper on what they have done in the country since they are there. And I remember like I assisted to a court trial and that was so outrageous. And that was actually involving some of the refugees. And I couldn't actually report on it because I was slapped with a publication ban at the end of the trial. And the thing is how we can actually inform the population if we keep having those barriers being put in place, either by the justice system or by the political system. And it's way worse than what we think. But the thing is, most of the information, we can't actually report on it.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of not reporting on it, where is the mainstream media coverage of this footage here? I'm going to show you here. It's also quite alarming. Let's just go ahead and play that clip of yeah, you guys know. There we go. Let's see. Let us know in the comments what you think of what you're seeing here. Where's the mainstream media outrage? And then Mark Carney, the legal gun owner grabbing champion, where's his voice about whatever the heck is going on here?
You know the good question here? Do you know what is the good question here? Where is Natalie Provost? You know? Where she is to talk about those guns that are, by the way, illegal. That's all illegal guns, obviously. So where she is to say, like, we need to tackle this, we need to crack down on this. Obviously, she will not talk. She prefer like to use the legal way because it's way less dangerous to talk about that.
Well, not only that, it's not just the guns and shooting out into the open like that. Look at what they're showing. It looks like they're showing police equipment. There's like a vest that says police on it. Even the phone that's being used looks like that. I don't know if we can show some more B-roll of that, but that looks extremely alarming to me. Did we not have a mass shooting? I believe our largest mass shooting out in Nova Scotia, someone impersonating a police officer. Yeah. By the way, he was doing his shooting with illegally obtained guns. So yeah, this is a huge issue of concern when you see something like this just being flaunted online. Much of the extortion shootings that are happening are recorded as well. There is no fear of getting caught or anything like that. They're filming it, laughing in our face. And it seems to be spreading. If there's 1,000 gunmen across the country ready to be deployed at any call, potentially, God help us, wearing police gear.
Yeah, people are filming themselves like shooting in the wild, having like all sorts of equipment, people filming themselves, smuggling guns, smuggling people across the border. People are just filming them, like doing all sorts of extortions, or selling literally like drugs online. Canada is a real joke.
Yeah, and none of this gun grabbing has anything to do with, again, any unlawful gun behavior. So now I'm going to jump to you. You covered something interesting here, so I'll let you take it away. The Jewish effigy hanged in Montreal. I believe that's your report. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so obviously every Sunday, there is a group called Montreal for Palestine who are protesting in the streets. Literally, they are pro-Hamas. It's not me saying this. It's them showing it in the streets.
I know they say it. People get mad with us when you ask them. They're like, thank God for Hamas when I'm holding the mic. Don't get mad at my title. Why don't you watch the report? Anyways, go on.
Exactly. And last Sunday, they brought an effigy, actually 3 effigies, one of Donald Trump, one of Netanyahu, and apparently the one that Guillaume actually posted the video was Ben Givey. I don't even know much about that person. I didn't know much before like this whole video that went out. But the thing is, the first video, and it's not even us filming that video, he found the video from Montreal for Palestine Instagram. So we don't see the face of the effigy. It just looked like a Jewish effigy, like a Jewish person effigy, just being on a nude. And so Guillaume put that out there because we didn't have any other angle to verify more information about it. It's just afterwards that someone put another angle showing that it was an effigy of Ben Gvir. But the thing is, at the end of the day, a children who is walking to the street, what the children will see, a Jewish person effigy, or that political figure that literally, I'm pretty sure that most of Canadians don't know about, you know? And the thing is, when you have protests now, staging execution of political figure, because recently the union have actually staged the execution of the labor minister of Quebec. When I was the one breaking the story, mainstream media was actually on the ground that day, didn't report on it. I put the video on social media, got like 100,000 of views, and literally now the police say that they are opening a criminal investigation. The same thing about what happened last Sunday with Montreal for Palestine. Yann Lafrenière, that is our safety minister in Quebec, said that they are going to open, I think it's already done, a criminal investigation about what happened with those effigies. But it's not only this. First of all, also that day they pray. They did the street prayers. It's supposed to be banned in Quebec. Police watched. They did nothing.
Really?
Okay? They didn't enforce the law. They didn't do anything. So that's a second point.
I just want to just interject there. I mean, I've already let everybody know I'm not a fan of the ban of prayer in the public. I think you should be able to go to a picnic and have a Bible study or study Muhammad session and peacefully and not bother people. But you are pointing out something huge. Who is actually going to be impacted by that law? Is it really going to be Muslims, setting up their prayers across Catholic churches, which is what I believe has happened out there your way? Or is it going to be the pesky Christians, maybe the street preachers, leading someone in prayer? So anyways, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, because just recently it was a Portuguese celebration, kind of Christian celebration, and they didn't receive the permit. They did it anyway. Wow. They did it anyway. So they went against like the fact that they didn't receive the permit. But again, they did pray. Nothing happened. The police didn't give any fines or anything because you're supposed to receive fines if you are going against the decision. Again, you need to understand what is happening in Quebec to make a full judgment, because literally we have a real problem with political Islam in the province of Quebec. We recently have like 17 schools being investigated for breach of secularism, mainly for Islamization of children. Couple of, I think, many teachers have actually lost their job after the investigation. But that, again, is just the tip of the iceberg. And I agree with you. I'm not a fan of that law because it put all the religion together when the other religion are not the problem. We have one problem, and it's political Islam, who is taking more and more spaces. And also they are praying in front of a church that is literally a domination sign, domination act. But the thing is, that day, there were also the leader of Montreal for Palestine, Bara Abu Hamed, and Mahmoud Khalil. I reported on them multiple times. And apparently what I actually learned from a judgment that was made less than 2 weeks ago, it's like Mahmoud Khalil was actually found guilty of uttering threats, causing bodily harm or death. And so it was discharged, but with condition that he had to keep the peace, like a kind of peace bond. And it was literally on the street, harassing businesses, shouting anti-Semitic slogans with that effigy. So the police cannot say they don't have the names, because literally we identify multiple people who were there that day, because I know them. I reported on multiple of them. So we
Just
will
like
see.
you found the church smoke bomber, it had to take you to let them know. But anyways,
And what happened with the smoke bomber? Literally, what I learned is the SPVM laid charge, and the Crown apparently say that they are not going ahead with those charges, and then he's free to go. No consequences for that.
And for people who are saying, oh, I'm not really religious, I don't care either way. Okay, that's fine. But just understand that, largely the things that made Canada great and free is, in fact, Christian values, that you can have free will when it comes to religion. And I was just reading some stats of what's happening to Christianity versus Islam in Canada. And coincidentally, sharp decline in Canadians identifying as Christians shortly after 2021. I wonder why, with all the churches being burnt because all of a sudden Christians were genociders in the country. Sharp decline with Christianity. It's still the leading religion in Canada for now, but Islam has quadrupled over the last 20 years and is projected to continue to do so. So religious or not, just think of free will.
and talking about political Islam, I went recently in England, and I actually built up a report on the Islamization of Britain. I went to Whitechapel. I actually reported there. I just posted my teaser. If Efron or if someone in the team can actually show the teaser, I think so. The full report will be published this weekend. I worked really hard for this one. I think it's really revealing about what is coming to us soon. Can we actually show the teaser? Is it possible? I visited a part of London that is unrecognizable. You are going to be shocked. The Islamization of the West is real.
So we have, on one hand, our tolerance and our freedom of speech, which is being abused against us.
You man are gonna get beheaded one by one, you dirty dude. We got Palestine. No.
We are a tolerant country. The West is a very tolerant place. And the Islamists understand this, and they use our own freedoms against us.
All right, guys, we are here in the United Kingdom of Pakistan. Really? Uncivilized.
So, in England, I was shocked because the call of prayers is happening 5 times a day, and it's loud. I was actually shocked, and people were explaining to me that the morning one is not being done because it's too early, and so they will actually disturb the neighborhood. But I think like 5 times a day of call of prayers is also a disturbance. I would say, because it's not just like 5 bell like ring. It's like literally like a long prayer that never kind of finished. And I'm just like, and when it stopped, not long time after, it started again.
Wow. Yeah.
And I would say, like, I was kind of shocked because I went also to Paris in France, and there is neighborhood that I was like, I think I'm in Africa.
Yeah.
I'm actually the only white here. And it's not just, we don't really care about like which color you are, whatever, who you are. It's the fact that they import the way that they live over there to the Western countries, like literally sending everything outside. There is a lot of garbages everywhere. It just, why are you importing that if you actually flee your country? What do you make of that?
Well, it used to be that we were, having people in with proven crisis, and it used to be actually a lot of Christian refugees were coming. That's also declined. It's not, Christians are the number one persecuted religion in the world. I mean, look what's happening in Nigeria. It just so happens that their religion is more compatible with the West. But we're seeing a shift in which type of religion comes in from the countries too. So that's something to take note of. But we also used to see people coming to our country because they wanted the Canadian dream, if you will. They wanted to live in this great country. They wanted to start businesses and stuff. And now we're having this whole different tier. I've said it before, but the lady who does my eyebrows, she's complaining about the tier of Indians. And, you don't want to talk about class systems, but, she's saying, the people that are coming here, they're not going to do anything for the country. And so anyways, we've talked about it. We're almost at the end there. I want to make sure we reach one of the titles, one of the things we promised to talk about, and it's other terrifying news, but in a different way. It's related to the economy. And if you look at this article here, it says Canada has technically slipped into a technical recession on an annualized basis as economic growth stalled in first quarter. So very concerning here. I'm just going to read a couple of the points here, and then you guys after the show can, of course, pull up the whole article. But it says Canada's economy contracted in the first quarter on an annualized basis by a slim margin, marking the second consecutive quarter of such decline, which some would call a technical recession. Statistics Canada said real gross domestic product fell 0.1% on an annualized basis in the first 3 months of the year. That comes after a downwardly revised contraction of 1% in the fourth quarter of 2025. However, on a quarterly basis, the first quarter GDP was unchanged against a decline in the fourth quarter of last year, closely escaping the definition of a technical recession on quarter basis. So we are, just by the hair of our chinny chin, I guess, not completely classified as being in a recession, but you can see the writings on the wall. We've got a chart there on the screen right now of the change in GDP. It is not looking good. Are you confident that the Liberal government is going to be the ones get us out of this trouble?
I think now we just need to wish for the best, but we are not going in the right direction. We are seeing it like instead of like allying ourselves with our biggest trade partner, we are literally getting closer to Europe and China. And by the way, if you look at Europe, they are not doing well too. Like literally, we should just say, yes, we can diversify our market, but we need to prioritize our relationship with the US, make sure that it's strong, make sure that we actually develop our industry, and also to export what we actually are the best at. It's natural resources.
Yeah. Remove the red tape. Let us do what we were created to do, quite literally. And Mark Carney, I don't know if this is a long video, but Mark Carney seems to have a plan. You talked about our trade partners, and he says Canadian energy sales to the US will help make America great again. Let's hear this.
Canada provides the United States with reliable power, with critical minerals that help fuel American growth. 99% of U.S. natural gas imports, 85% of electricity imports, 60% of crude oil imports. That is mutual strength. Let's be absolutely clear. Canada Strong will help make America great again.
I'm sorry, but like, wasn't this speech like almost a year overdue? Like, what's happening there?
And was he like the special advisor of Trudeau when Trudeau actually scrapped the LNG project in Quebec?
Remember when our very own Ezra Levant scrummed him before he was our prime minister, and he was like, oh, you shouldn't be talking to a banker about this kind of thing. That's who we elected. So enough of that. We've had a good time talking on the show. Alexa, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I did want to end on this very quick cringe. And I think it's because the homeschool trip for my youngest, we are going to the amusement park. And when I saw this, I went, oh no, I'm so sad. I already told him about that. Let's show the daily cringe. Coming.
Is everybody okay? And then make sure that they are calm with the situation. There she is. They just saw her feet come out of the car. 2 rescuers brought her out and carried her down onto the firefighter basket that's up here on ladder number 1. And as you can see, she is out and explained to them that it's going to be a while before we get you down. But we're going to get you down safely. Just bear with us and follow our instructions.
That is a roller coaster stuck. It was like the most terrifying thing ever. I can only imagine. And it's going to take so long to get each one. Now, they're all fine, thank God. But just imagine being those people stuck there. And why is that roller coaster that high? That is insane.
And can we learn about like what happened? Like, is it like technical problem, electricity problem?
It just stopped.
What is that?
It got stuck on the vehicle track, leaving 8 people dangling at the very top of the ride, and firefighters used a long ladder truck to reach the riders. I'm surprised it even reached that high. My goodness, several stories above the ground. So thank you, firefighters. And I am absolutely terrified about this field trip now. So
just don't jump on any roller coaster.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. It's been great. Do we have anybody who's weighed in on a super chat or anything? No, it looks like that's all the comments for the show. It was a pleasure. Thank you for our producers who work so hard to keep the show going and let us know when we're messing up on something, which I don't think they whispered in my ear today. So that was pretty good. So thank you all. Happy Friday and happy good weekend. That made no sense, but bye.
Bye.
IRCC had 105 misconduct and wrongdoing cases in 2024 and 2025. Is the minister satisfied with this level of failure?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. IRCC does not tolerate at all any misconduct. The report was proactively published. It is very transparent for all Canadians to see.
Honourable Member.
How many IRCC officials were fired last year?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As I have said, we have a proactive response to all misconducts, and action is appropriately managed, and there has been some that were fired.
Member.
Take it that she doesn't know. The Auditor General found many cases of fraud that were missed by IRCC. The Minister committed to fixing this problem. Since her committee appearance, how many new cases of fraud have been found?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In fact, we spent, standing committee meetings on that, on the Auditor General's report, who actually confirmed that a number of items that the IRCC department has done were very effective.
Honourable Member.
You still didn't answer if there have been new cases of fraud found. Have there been new fraud cases with permits that have been nullified?
The Honourable Minister.
Again, Mr. Chair, the Auditor General found that the cancellation of the student direct stream in 2024 was the right path to take that has curbed all kinds of misconduct.
The Honourable Member.
Does she really believe that all fraud has been found by the Auditor General? Because it sounds like she's not looking for any more in her department. That seems like a very naive belief. Much of the fraud in Canada originates with unscrupulous immigration consultants. Has IRCC opened up investigations into immigration consultants for fraud?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. IRCC has followed up with 100% of all flagged cases.
The Honourable Member.
But not immigration consultants, so I take it you have no concerns. She has no concerns about immigration consultants. One category of people who didn't have to enter fraudulently were IRGC terrorists. The government blindly approved these applications. How many permits have been flagged for review because of potential connections to IRGC regime officials?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you. Let me go back to his other question for a moment. We have tightened all kinds of rules and restrictions and made